Hey dear students, welcome back to e-learning platform of GS College of Commerce, Khattar. I'm Assistant Professor Rajeshwari Sharma here. This lecture is for the Econ second semester for the subject Business Economics. So, in today's lecture, we are going to deal with the degrees of price discrimination as well as equilibrium under price discrimination. The lecture that we have seen before this, in that lecture, what we had seen that what is the meaning of price discrimination, and we have seen what are the conditions that is required to be prevailed in the market for discriminating the prices, and as we have seen with what objectives the price discrimination has been done in the market. In today's lecture, we are going to see the degrees of price discrimination. To this, we can also call types of price discrimination, and after that, we are going to see the equilibrium condition under price discrimination. So let's begin with the degrees of price discrimination. First of all, what is price discrimination? So we will just have a recap of that. Okay, it's a strategy which is used by monopolists, whereby different prices are charged to different customers or different segments for the same product, or the different prices are charged for the different units of the same commodity. That is the strategy of price discrimination. Okay. Now we are going to see what are the types or the degrees of that price discrimination. So first degree over here is price discrimination based on consumer surplus. When I say this term consumer surplus, so what is the meaning of this term? I will make you understand this term with the help of an example. Suppose you are having your birthday, you have gone to market with your friends for celebrating your birthday. You have ordered pizza for your friends as you wanted to celebrate your birthday, and after having a pizza, you just asked for the bill. Okay. In bill, it was mentioned that you have to pay 60 rupees per pizza. You have to pay 60 rupees per pizza. But pizza was quite tasty. After having that pizza, you would have thought that you will have to pay either 100 rupees or 150 rupees for that pizza. Okay, so here you are ready to pay even 100 rupees for that pizza. Okay, ready to pay 100 rupees per pizza. But when you have asked for the bill, you get to know that the price of pizza is 60 rupees only. How much you are ready to pay? 100. How much amount is actually being paid? 60. Okay. So here you are getting the consumer surplus of 40 rupees. Okay. So even though the price of that pizza would be 70 rupees, 80 rupees or 90 rupees, still you would have paid it because you find it worthy of 100 rupees. Okay. So here up to 100 rupees, the pizza seller can discriminate the price of pizza. So the first degree of price discrimination, which is based on consumer surplus, it says that the seller can discriminate the price of product to the extent till the time consumer surplus is not completely taken away, consumer surplus is not completely vanished. Okay, so first type of price discrimination is based on consumer surplus, whereby a seller can discriminate the price to the extent till the time consumer surplus is not completely taken away or consumer surplus is not completely vanished. The second degree that we are going to see here is price discrimination on the basis of number of units. Here you can find two types of discrimination. First one on increasing unit, second one on consecutive purchase. For understanding this, I will give you an example of soap. See, you have gone to the shop for buying some soaps. Seller or the shopkeeper tells you that if you are going to buy a single soap, you'll have to pay 20 rupees for that. Okay, and if you are going to buy a bundle of soap, a bundle of 3 soap, it is what? 1 soap. Okay, and if you are going to buy a a bundle which consists of 3 soap, so you will have to pay 50 rupees. If you would have purchased 3 soaps one by one, so you would have to pay 60 rupees. 20 into 3, 60. But if you are buying 3 soaps together, a bundle of soap, when you are increasing the number of unit of soap that you are buying, so you have to pay less amount. Okay. So this way, on the number of units that you are purchasing, price can be discriminated. Like if you are purchasing less number of units, you will have to pay more, and if you are buying more number of units, you will have to pay less. So this way, on the basis of number of units, price discrimination can be done. Another example of number of units you can take on the basis of consecutive purchases. See, you might have purchased something from Flipkart. So when you purchase once, twice, thrice, so after completing certain times, they start giving you super coins. Okay, they start giving you super coins, and when certain amount of super coins get collected with you, so they offer you the discount of certain amount in exchange or in return of those super coins. Means if you are buying something consecutively, you are buying something again and again, so you are getting discount. Okay, via returning these super coins, via the way of exchanging your super coins that you are getting on your each purchase. So this way, the number of units price can be discriminated on the basis of number of units. Okay. After that, we have third basis for the discrimination, which is location or the segment. Okay. Suppose there are different markets, market A, market B. Okay. There are different markets. So it might happen that price for the same commodity can be different in market A and it may be different in market B. Like if you are going to take the example of apple in Kashmir. So it grows over there. It grows in Kashmir. Okay. So you will find that in the market of Kashmir, apple is cheaper. Okay. It is available at lower prices. But if you are going to compare the price of apple in the market of Kashmir and the market of Maharashtra, you will find a significant difference. Why? Because when it's being transported from this market to this market, whereby the demand is more than the supply, so you will find that the prices are increasing. And in Kashmir, supply is more than demand. That is why here the prices are low. Okay. So on the basis of segment or the location as well, the prices differ. And such type of discrimination is known as locational discrimination or discrimination on the basis of segmentation. So here, these are the 3 types or the degrees of price discrimination that we have dealt here. Okay. The next thing that we have to see under the concept of price discrimination is equilibrium under price discrimination. So when we talk about the equilibrium, so always there are 2 conditions of equilibrium that we have studied in perfect competition market as well as in monopoly market. What are those 2 conditions? Marginal cost should be equal to marginal revenue, right? Marginal cost should be equal to marginal revenue, and marginal cost curve should cut marginal revenue curve from below. Okay, so these are the 2 conditions of equilibrium. So in order to achieve the condition of equilibrium in the price discrimination as well, this condition needs to be fulfilled. These conditions are needed to be fulfilled. Okay. So here, while making price discrimination, the monopolist has to make 3 decisions. What are those decisions? First of all, a monopolist has to decide how much total output should be produced. Means what's going to be the optimum level of output that he wants to produce, that he has to produce. After that, distribution of total output between 2 sub-markets. See, while discussing the conditions of price discrimination, we have seen that one thing that is very crucial in price discrimination is subdivision of market. If the monopolist is able to divide his market into different divide this market into several sub-markets or two sub-markets, so price discrimination cannot be done. That is why it is assumed that the market can be subdivided. And here the next decision that the monopolist has to take for achieving equilibrium under price discrimination is how much output needs to be distributed in different sub-markets. Okay, how much output needs to be distributed between different sub-markets. For example, he is having two markets, market A, market B, and the total quantity that he has produced is 100. So, out of this 100 units, how much is to be given to market A and how much is to be given to market B? That he has to decide for achieving the equilibrium under price discrimination. The third decision that he has to make regarding price to be changed in different sub-markets. Now, he is having two sub-markets, okay? So, he will have to decide in different sub-markets how much price needs to be charged for the commodity. For market, in market A, how much price needs to be charged. In market B, how much price needs to be charged. He needs to decide this as well, okay? So, these are the three things about which the monopolist has to take decision for achieving equilibrium in price discrimination, okay? So, now we are going to see graph of graphs under the price discrimination, okay? So, here it is the graph, okay? It is the graph. We will consider that it is the firm, okay? It is the firm. Here on x-axis, we represent quantity, okay? We represent quantity, and on y-axis, we represent price, okay? So, we are going to consider that this third graph is for the firm, this graph is for the market A, and this graph is for the market B. Now, we will assume that market A is a market which is where he wants to increase the price, where the monopolist wants to increase the price, okay? Why he wants to increase the price over here? Because it is a market with less elasticity. It is relatively inelastic market where the elasticity is less than 1. What is the meaning of elasticity is less than 1? If the elasticity is less than 1, so what happens? The price changes, the demand which gets changed for the commodity is lesser than the price which gets changed for the commodity. For example, if the price is declining by 20, price is increasing by 20%, okay? If price is increasing by 20%, so demand will decrease only by 10%. So here, increase in price, okay, is more than percentage change in price is greater than the percentage change in demand, okay? So here we are going to call it the market with less elasticity, right? Why? Because due to change in price, the demand is not getting too much impacted over here. This is the market with less elasticity, and this is going to be the market with elasticity of demand greater than 1. Okay, elasticity of demand greater than 1. So here, if the price of the commodity changes, so demand will show greater change than the price. Okay. So while studying the chapter of elasticity of demand, we had seen that in case of relatively inelastic demand, what happens? The curve, demand curve is steeper one. Okay, demand curve is steeper one. So here in this case, we are going to give such kind of demand curve. Okay, such kind of demand curve. So this is our demand curve as well as average revenue curve. Okay, as well as average revenue curve. Why average revenue curve is sloping downward? Because in order to sell more and more commodity, after a certain point of time, seller has to decrease his price up to certain extent. Okay, and this is going to be the marginal revenue. As we all know, marginal revenue always lies below average revenue. Marginal revenue falls at a greater speed than the average revenue. That is why this is the marginal revenue curve and this is the the average revenue curve, which is steeper. Okay, why it is steeper? Because it is a market with relatively inelastic demand. Now, if we are going to talk about the market B, so it is a market with relatively elastic demand. So, in case of relatively elastic demand, what happens? You are going to find the curves which are flatter one. Okay, which are flatter one. So, in this case, curves are going to be like this. So, this is average revenue curve, and this is marginal revenue curve. Okay, so in case of market with less elasticity, you will find that the revenue curves are steeper, and in the market with greater elasticity, you will find that demand of the revenue curve is flatter one. Okay, now if you are going to add this curves of two markets, so we are going to get the curve of a firm. Okay, we are going to get the demand curve or the revenue curve of the firm. So see, here we can see that average revenue curve is and marginal revenue curve for market A is starting here. Okay, it is starting here. So the graph of the firm will also start over here. After that, you will find that for the market B, it is starting over here. Okay, so for the market B, graph will change its shape from here, because for the market A, the curves are steeper in shape, and for the market B, the curves are flatter in shape. So the curve for the total firm would be like this. Up to this extent, it will be steeper one. Okay, up to this extent, it will be steeper one, and then the market B will start, so it will have little flatter shape. Okay, it will have little flatter shape. So this is going to be the shape of firm of market. Okay, it's going to be the shape of curve in the firm. Okay, so this is curve for the firm. This is average revenue curve for the firm. Okay, now marginal revenue curve will definitely fall below average revenue curve. Okay, so it will also show this shape. So this is the marginal revenue curve. Now we know that at what point we get equilibrium. We know that at what point we get equilibrium. When the marginal cost curve cuts marginal revenue curve from below, so we get the equilibrium. So at this point, we are having the equilibrium quantity. Okay, this is the point where we are having the equilibrium quantity. Okay, so this equilibrium quantity is for the firm. What we have to find? We have to find the equilibrium quantity for the markets as well. So when we are going to join these points with the curve drawn under the markets, so you are going to get equilibrium quantity for the markets as well. Okay, you are going to get equilibrium quantity for the markets as well. So equilibrium quantity for the market A would be this, and equilibrium quantity for the market B would be this. Okay, so here we have got equilibrium quantity for both the market, that is market A and market B. Now let us assume that the equilibrium quantity that we have got for the market A is 10 units. Okay, and the equilibrium quantity that we have got for the market B is 20 units. And now suppose currently you are selling 15 units in the market A. Okay, and you are selling 16 units in market B. Okay, here how much you have to sell? 10 units. After selling 10 units in market A, you will have maximum profit, because 10 units is the equilibrium quantity. But how much you are selling? 15 units you are selling. Okay, in market B, what is the equilibrium quantity? 20 units is the equilibrium quantity. Okay, but how much units you are selling? 16 units you are selling. So you so for from both the market. So this way, price discrimination is done under the equilibrium is achieved under the price discrimination, and it is used for maximizing the profit. So here we are done with the concept of price discrimination. In next lecture, we are going to start the next concept, that is monopolistic competition. Till then, please keep going through the lectures. In case of any difficulties or doubts, please